Bitcoin jumped to $107,000 end of June. A new monthly close all-time high. Again,
I'll take that. Yeah, thank you.
Predicted. I think there will be many more all-time highs in the months to come. Of course, we're still in the bull market. The bull market continues. The question I hear a lot is, why isn't the price much higher than it is right now? Because Michael Saylor is buying, MicroStrategy, there's huge inflow in the ETFs. So why is the price not higher than it is right now?
Yeah, so basically the issue with XRP and Bitcoin is that it was not a lot of people understand why it pumps, and this is basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to explain the prices and the reasons and how the market cycles work and where it goes from here and what the billionaires are talking about. Tom Lee has been very vocal about Ethereum being the next big thing, but I feel like XRP will have more, of the big players joining in as well. Because of exactly that, I'm feeling bullish on the government coins. Again, yeah, with trading, you can make a lot of money. That is very true. But here's the thing, why are these big institutions buying, right? Because they are betting on being the big player, on having easy profit from that. So sometimes they announce it after they buy. But why do we see every single week these institutions? So I'm sure it's pure speculation. And if you look at the weekly time frame, you definitely see that. But you can actually see them buying, after a week as well.
The end of 2026, that's this line.
I'm looking at that.
Looking at this chart, I think it go to the stock flow level.
So yeah, Plan B actually gave a great prediction for July as well for the prices. Just pretty, he's actually a very good trader. He predicted the Bitcoin 100K when nobody believed him, when the Plan B was so low. So yeah, traders are literally one of the smartest people on planet Earth probably. They could make jet fuel.
And at least go to this 200K level. But 40% thinks otherwise. So that's very interesting. And I mean, it's not a...
a lot of people don't agree with his price rates, but they were literally proven as you can see here.
Percent thinks otherwise. So that's very interesting. And I mean, it's not a crazy thought.
Check it out.
Because you see this curving of this line. So they think in diminishing returns. So they think this curve will flatten and in fact not go above the 200.
So yeah, it's not that crazy to see after you break, the first hardest part is breaking to $1, for example, for Bitcoin, or breaking to first $10. So yeah, it took a year to break from 0 cent to $10 and $1. The next big plan, look how easier it was to break those barriers. So the hardest part is getting the momentum started, and then going from 1 million, I guess 10 million is really, really hard, right? He's saying 2030 we're going to be seeing 10 million. Or I don't see that. I think it works only to a certain point. But going 2028 to 1 million is also going to be super, super hard. And that's why 40% don't agree. But it already hit 100,000. So by his charts, he's basically saying, for psychological levels, 1 million. So it's going to be way easier to hit 100,000 to 200,000, 300,000, especially with governments entering now. And millionaires coming from it. Could it happen in the next 3 years? Who knows? It could happen after a long, long time.
In fact, not go above the 200K line in the next 1.5 years. And that's in fact the bet the big bet that's underlying this market.
So yeah, XRP, could follow this line because it could literally follow Bitcoin's prices.
ETFs with new regulation.
ETFs would be the big thing.
Declare war on self-custody. So for people in Europe, it's really hard to sell, especially old coins. And so an ETF removes all those barriers because there's no, or very little, know your customer and barriers compared to crypto. So yeah, I think that's behind this relatively flat bull market. So there's a lot of selling of old Bitcoin holders that put this money back in Bitcoin through an ETF or MicroStrategy. So it's a rotation actually, and not much new money. Once that rotation is done, however, and the new money flows in, of course, that's when the price should reflect the scarcity and supply shortage.
Exactly as Plan B is saying, ETFs have become the big thing for people to basically dump their money into XRP, cryptos. You see retail investors coming in, and they're hoping that the government enters and basically buys more.
Past, it's also on the charts underneath this model. It's really easy to predict a end of a bear market. The bull market, however, the top is very hard to predict. So there will be a time, it's not now, but there will be a time when the orange or the red dot turns into yellow, into distribution, and that will be followed by a bear market. However, here, if we look at 2018, that was a very clean distribution phase. Red turned to yellow, it ran its course, and then the bear market green, and then another cycle.
So again, we're seeing these cycles, go from time to time. Basically, they're falling exactly as he predicted. The thing is, we have never seen a cycle like that when the government was in. So could this cycle go even better than this? It's not that crazy. Like, nobody believed 100,000 Bitcoin. And then we saw basically these cycles go straight to the moon. And we saw these cycles like with the government entering. And nobody expected the government, US government entering. I feel like this prediction would be different, like 100,000 Bitcoin, and XRP would not be at $3.5 if we did not see Trump in effect. Trump in effect literally probably saved crypto.
So what we see is that all the realized prices are increasing, which is good. And Bitcoin is at 107,000 above all those realized prices. And that's a typical signature of a bull market. You can see it in...
Yeah, so I'm feeling like this 2024 we saw, like this rally, is because the government went from bearish to bullish on crypto. Like literally from regulating it to basically starting to love it, to saying it's going to be the big technology, the next big crypto prices, and that's what makes it strong.
Investable asset in all of human history, but performing asset of them all. Plan B has been stressing to investors for months that all the factors are beginning to align right now, a period characterized by parabolic moves upwards in crypto prices.
I think that it is appropriate that we are making new highs because the fundamental and the visibility is better now than it was.
This is the new plan, for XRP. This is the new plan to reach it to $5. Basically, we are betting big on the governments to save us at this point.
Making new highs because the fundamental and the visibility is better now than it was in February at the old highs. And I think there's three levers that are going to get pulled. One we know is that the Fed didn't unleash liquidity at the April lows. So we have a Fed that's been on hold and tight. But if the information and the data comes in dovish, that's 12 to 24 months of Fed liquidity. And
exactly what I was saying. Like lots of money is on hold, on pause right now, and the new pumps could be coming in. Again, nobody knows if these pumps are going to be confirmed. Maybe like only a few people in the market know. But that's what's really keeping me hyped.
That hasn't happened yet. The second is that I think that there is a false argument. People are saying the multiples are stretched. The PE should be expanding because we've now had 5 stress tests that companies survived. They survived the bullwhip effect, they survived the inflation surge, they survived the Fed fastest hikes, and now they survived Armageddon. If you don't have 5 more episodes, multiples will be higher 2 years from now. And the third is that I agree with anybody who says that, look, we've kind of reshaped some of the economic flows.
So yeah, U.S. companies passed 5 major stress tests, more tariff, tax, and deregulation stability, Fed more dovish. So if I understand correctly, dovish meaning is opposed to militaristic policies. Okay, so 2026 is going to be less militaristic, which means more like economy based. So maybe like some of that money that they spend so much on basically war budgets, they could put towards crypto, they could put it towards, savings, they could put it so much. Literally, they have a lot of money. The issue is where they spend it. And you can see the markets growing up from that.
They only started to rise really in 2022.
Right, they
dramatically.
had a stutter step
Correct.
and then they went up.
If you look at margin debt, NYSE margin debt, the dollar amount absolute is still below where it was in October 2021. So you have like 4 year, it's 4 years and you're still not even higher in margin debt. And third, it really doesn't take, you don't need 60 trillion to come into the stock market to have it rise 10%. You probably need 200 billion. And I think there's a lot of high net worth money. I know there's a lot of our institutional long short macro.
So Tom Lee is literally saying that a lot of money could be coming into like XRP, stock markets, anything you want.
That is shorting this rally. The long-only managers are defensively positioned. They don't believe in a cyclical long. But look, if rates come down and the Fed starts easing, it's going to force people into a cyclical tilt. Today would have been a day where if it was weak, then the Fed has to change its calculus. But the job market's good. So now the waiting game is, how much will inflation surge over the summer? Inflation expectations.
So they're basically waiting on data before they pump the markets. This is all planned, guys, and this is what I've been telling you. The data is, here. We have the data in front of our hands, but the government is still waiting on the final confirmation before they can open the flood pipes. They want to make sure that they did not cause another recession. Because if they cause another recession, it's going to be bad, right? It's going to probably be a 5-year recession if we do that. We could be following the same scenario as 2008. The markets were good until they were not, right?
Expectations are actually coming down. So now all that we're waiting for is let it get through this CPI hump. I do think it means that once you get into September, we should really think about cuts coming. And that's what I would focus on more as an investor, that, well, that's a cutting cycle. The Fed won't just do one cut. They're going to continue cutting.
So, yeah, they're probably going to take a slow and safe approach, and we could be seeing this really growing through past time.
Turns out Bitcoin's risen, but it's kind of churned. I think what happened is a couple things. One is a lot of these ETFs may have been receiving in-kind exchange. So people have their crypto keys, give it to the ETF provider, and then they just stepped up their basis. So that's not going to push up the price of Bitcoin. It adds to their AUM.
It's a wash.
Yes, it's a wash. And the second is that the ones who...
So he's very right on that. A lot of like these also XRP right now in the future, when the XRP gets added, it might not pump the price it might bump the price indirectly. So they basically have already bought that XRP, and it's a promise that they're still holding it and can carry your XRP in the ETFs. So it was already bought at probably like $1 or 50 cents or 20 cents. And it's just a guarantee that you have and own some of it that they have bought in the past. So, but the thing is, what's going to happen is you can outbuy an ETF. So you can literally buy more than they have supply. Let's say people buy 10 billion and they only have 5 billion. They got to buy that extra 5 billion for that price. It's not like they can just get it, say, oh, we don't have it. Because that's what happened with FTX, right? They didn't have enough money and they went bankrupt because people tried to withdraw that money, said, hey, where's my money? You took it for me. You took my lunch money. And we are seeing now at a point where crypto institution is finally getting adopted after 5 years.
Aren't involved in ETFs, but maybe they have $10 Bitcoin. We have clients that have bought Bitcoin at $100, and now it's 100,000.
Exactly. That's what can happen again, And going from $100 to 100,000 is not that crazy in that sense. 1 million. 100,000 to 1 million. And XRP, going from $1 to $10. I used to call it crazy when I saw it at 1 cent, 5 cents. I saw it at 5 cents. I thought $1, that's never going to happen. It's going to crash because all these crypto coins in 2018, they were here this week and the next week they were gone. 2018 was more chaotic than it was now. And that tells you something.
They don't care if Bitcoin goes to a million. They are probably sellers at around 100,000. So we're churning the base now.
It's completely crazy to me that people would buy it so easily for 120K and people don't want to sell it for 1 million. People don't want to sell their XRP for 3.5. So, yeah.
Because 95% of the institutional world doesn't own Bitcoin, but a very significant portion of Bitcoin holders are sitting on huge gains. So I think this is the churn that's happening in Bitcoin.
That's what's happening in crypto right now. People are not selling for profit. Literally 100% of people were in profit with XRP and just a small amount sold.
Bitcoin now. But of course, the companies that serve Bitcoin, like Coinbase or Circle, have seen huge growth, and they've been the best IPOs and the best stocks. So it's almost like maybe you won't make money trading Bitcoin, but look at the infrastructure providers. They've been great stocks.
Tom Lee challenges the conventional economic metrics, asserting that these metrics are often manipulated to paint a specific narrative, like labor statistics and inflation figures. The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value. However, Lee asserts this journey is just the beginning, comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment, with a giant spotlight on Bitcoin ETFs.
Seems like bullish right now, like Ethereum ETFs, XRP ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs, government ETFs, Ethereum treasuries, XRP treasuries. Again, everything is screaming bullish, bullish, bullish. You know, nothing screams like, oh, we're entering a recession. We're literally talking if we are gonna like have a small stop or if we're gonna go full on out and pump crypto. And it means that, you know, right now people are looking into extra gains and extra money that they cannot find anywhere else. You cannot find, you know, 500% gains in stock market. So what this will happen is it will create an influx of young investors, very young investors, maybe 20s, maybe 30s, maybe 19, maybe 18, because they will see the price and life is expensive. That will be the reality. And they will go and buy XRP. They will buy meme coins. They will buy and trade. They will learn trading. They will go in this crypto industry because everything else is expensive. They don't want to work job for maybe like $1,000, $2,000 per month and barely pay their bills. They want to go all out. They want to go big on crypto. And we're going to be seeing a big institution, you know, selling these cryptos to them. Who knows when the top is going to be, but it's definitely going to happen. And I still think it's super early. So we are going to be seeing so many more winners in this.